Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. So I have been promising one of our viewers in Northern Ireland that I was going to ask this question the next time I had you, so I'm going for it. She says, "Hi Shannon and Dr. Granpeesheh, I was wondering if I could ask for some advice, please. I'm finding it very difficult to explain to my 14-year-old son who has autism, ADHD, and a learning disability that he cannot hit out. I know that in the instant he just cannot control his actions, and after lashing out he will become very emotional and apologize. People have suggested removing his phone, etc., but this just makes the situation 10 times worse. This is an ongoing issue with myself and his dad, but it can also happen with younger children, especially as he cannot predict or understand their behavior at times. He's a big 14-year-old, and I'm worried that as he gets older, things are going to get harder to manage. Your advice has always helped me so much, and I would very much appreciate any ideas that you can give me on how I can help my son." And this is from one of our wonderful viewers in Northern Ireland that we love so much.
That's nice.
So here we go. This is a toughie.
Here we go.
Yeah.
It's not a toughie. It's a really easy answer.
I love that.
It's a little bit easy. It's a little bit harder to actually do what I'm going to suggest, but the understanding of it is really easy. So when you kind of look at any kind of behavior, challenging behavior, what's your first question? You always have to ask, what's the function? Why is he hitting? What is he trying to communicate? I always want to remind parents the best way to ask yourself is, if he could talk, what would he say? Yeah. And that's really the answer to why this is happening. So, you know, you mentioned something about his phone. I don't know how that ties in, whether or not it has something to do, or if you're thinking that maybe use of the phone agitates him, I don't know. But whatever is causing his agitation aside, what is he trying to communicate? And it might be different things, by the way. So you have to write all of those out, every single instance that it happens. If he could talk, what would he say? And so it's possible that he would be saying, "Leave me alone, I don't want to do this thing," or "I don't really like being in this room," or "I really want that object, my phone," for example, or whatever it is, right? So that is what he's trying to communicate. And then the next question, so you identify everything he's trying to communicate. Then you ask yourself, did he make his communication known? And was it an effective communication? So when he hit, did he get his phone? Did he get to leave that room? Did he get to avoid the thing? Was it a successful communication? And if it was, that's what has to change. And it's really simple, because what you're doing is you're telling him that hitting is an effective form of communication. He hits, he gets his phone. Why should he stop hitting? It's very effective. He hits, he gets to leave a situation that he doesn't want to be in. Why should he stop hitting? It's very effective. If hitting is effective in getting what it is that he's trying to communicate, then that's the problem. What has to happen is you have to make hitting ineffective, and at the same time you have to give him a different way to communicate that is effective. So I don't know if he's verbal or non-verbal. I think he's verbal from remembering this mom. Mm-hmm. But essentially, you will give him a very, very easy way to communicate the things that he wants, and you will make sure that his hitting doesn't get what he wants. So if he hits, he doesn't get his phone. If he asks for phone before hitting, he gets his phone. If he hits, he doesn't get to leave a room or a situation that he doesn't like. If he asks for a break, he does, and so on and so forth. So all of those situations, you turn them around so that his hitting is ineffective. It is not getting any kind of reaction. It is not getting the thing that he wanted. But instead of hitting, ahead of when you can tell he's starting to get agitated, you prompt him so that he requests, he uses his language, or if he's nonverbal, he points to an icon. He shows a sign for timeout. He somehow communicates differently that is more appropriate. And then he gets what he wants. It's really that simple. Now, because hitting is a difficult thing, obviously, and he's not just doing it with mom and dad, he's also doing it with other children, it's not something that we like to ignore, because when you ignore it, every behavior that's put on extinction, or as soon as you start ignoring it, it increases before it'll go down. That's called an extinction burst. It's the individual is thinking, wait a minute, when I used to hit, it was very effective, they gave me my phone. Now they're not giving me my phone, so I'm gonna hit twice as much, I'm gonna scream, I'm gonna freak out in every possible way I can to get my phone. So what I would suggest is that you and your husband both learn a few techniques for blocking the hitting. These are called assaultive behavior management techniques. And you can learn that when he's about to hit, you can hold his wrist, or you can block his wrist so that his arm goes the other way. You can actually find a lot of this type of training on the Institute for Behavioral Training website, which is ibehavioraltraining.com. I think you're familiar with that company.
Yeah.
So you just go on there and you look at how to assaultive behavior management techniques, or how to manage challenging behavior. Those modules will go into this. But you will block the hitting, but you will not give him the object or activity that he was trying to gain access to. You will only give him the object or activity that he was trying to gain access to if he requests in a more appropriate way. I know it's a very easy answer, but it's harder to do.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I love that you said, oh no, the answer to this is easy, right? But for me, it's a little bit like dieting, right? Because because you know, here's the answer,
well said.
Right? But then you have to do it.
Yes.
And you can't like mamby-pamby it. You got to do it, and you got to do it over and over and over again. And I think the thing that's tough as a parent is that sometimes the paycheck that he wants for it, and that's what I call the function, the paycheck, that sometimes the paycheck that he wants for it, let's say he wants to get out of something. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he's being asked to do something and he'll hit, but then other times he does it for a different reason. And you have to get adept enough that in the moment, and for a parent, what I was taught by CARD was to say to myself, what is it that he just wanted? Don't give him that.
Yeah.
Like to have that thought process in my head. And then I cut out everything. What do I think he just wanted when he was about to do that? We'll make sure he doesn't get that.
That's right.
Give him the opposite of that. Right?
That's so very well said. Very well said.
Because we get into our, I gotta say.
You start thinking too much.
And the rest of my life is gonna be this way. And we start to picture, well then, you know, the police are gonna come at some point. We cycle. Because we can't help ourselves.
That's right.
This feels bad.
That's right.
But if you just think to yourself, what did he just want? Don't give it to him.
That's right.
And it's got to be that quick that you think, because you got to cut it off that fast.
That's right. Exactly. And that's why I'm suggesting you start with just making a list of the function of this behavior in different scenarios. So you just take a couple of days or maybe a week, whatever it is, and make a chart and list every single time that he hits, what was he wanting?
Yeah.
What was it that he was trying to get by that? Because it's going to be different. As Shannon said, it's going to be different every single time. And you're going to end up with like 10 different scenarios. And you're going to say, oh, in this case, he wanted access to an object. In this case, he just wanted to get out. In this case, he wanted just to get attention. Attention is one of the hardest ones.
Yeah.
There's going to be all kinds of reasons.
And you see me folding my paper. I do this all the time on the show. I tell parents, get a piece of paper, you fold it into thirds, right? And you label the top A, B, and C.
Right.
And the B is the behavior in the middle, and you write down everything that you saw about the behavior. And this helped me with anxiety.
Absolutely.
Was the therapist taught me when he's engaging in a behavior to look at the behavior and know that I'm going to report on it later. Because you don't have the piece of paper with you at the moment.
Right.
But so I would look at it and go, oh, look at that. He just swiped everything off the coffee table instead of going, oh, look, he just swiped everything off the. I'd be like, oh, I got to write that down because they're going to want to know that. So that's the B, the behavior. The A is later on you feel that what happened before. It's the antecedent. So you write that, including the time and what they ate before, because sometimes it has to do with that. that.
Right.
And then the C is the consequence. What happened as a result? And it sounds ridiculous. I remember the first time somebody showed me this and I was like, well, that's not going to reveal anything. I'm a smart person and I have a good memory. I know what's happened. But then you see a pattern emerge.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or 7 patterns
yes,
emerge.
yes.
So
And we can help you. If you just do the ABC chart, as Shannon suggested, and you bring it back to us, we'll help you
Yeah.
identify the functions.
email it over for me.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
And I'll tell you something, for a parent, it makes you feel like, okay, I'm doing something. I'm actually part of the team and I'm doing something, and it empowers you as you start to see that there's a pattern. You go, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Every time I feed him grapes, within an hour, he pops off.
That's also interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, well, I wonder what happens, how often this would happen if I don't eat grapes. And that's just, I'm just making that up, but you will see some sort of a pattern emerging.
Absolutely. And I love that you actually use the example of eating grapes, because as behaviorists, we classify everything as you're trying to avoid something or you're trying to gain access to something. The types of things that you might gain access to are a tangible object or an activity or attention. The types of things that you're trying to avoid are obviously all aversives, right? So you're trying to avoid a room that you don't like, a place, an activity, a person, whatever it is. It's an aversive. But as a mom, and as just looking at the child more holistically, it's not just about behavioral type stuff. There's also food. You could, for an antecedent to a behavior could actually be a food item. That's a really well said, because some of our kids absolutely right after eating sugar or right after eating something with red dye or something like that could actually be increasing the behavior as well. And on the other side, it could also be like we need to look at medication effect, sleep effect, like, hey, he always tantrums when he hasn't slept the night before. So everything that is, he always tantrums when he's in a room where the lights are very intense. You really have to pay attention to everything when it comes to an individual with autism, because their senses are hypersensitive as well. So they could be reacting to dietary, to lack of sleep, to pain, to some sort of stimulus in their environment that's disturbing them. So all of those things could also be the antecedent. Absolutely.
I mean, for me, I have a wheat intolerance, and if I have a wheat infraction, I am inconsolably angry.
Yeah.
Like you could talk to me and I'm irrational. I cannot. I'm an adult, and I will sometimes now go, oh my gosh, I can feel it. I get hot all over and it feels like I have pricklies, and I am unhappy about anything. I'm unhappy about my hair, your hair, and I will say, I will say to my husband now, I think I've had a wheat thing, and I'll start to get hives along my jawline, and I'm like, okay, I gotta take something and go away from humankind, because I turn into Shrek.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I hear you.
So that's me. But then the story that I always tell about my son was that we kept having these like horrible tantrum outbursts in this one grocery store, and it was always in the same place in the grocery store.
Interesting.
And I was like, I can never. At one time, my child, he was like 4, he overturned the cart in this store, and there was a couple with a brand new baby with a cart next to it, and it hit their cart, and they thought,
my gosh.
and I was like, they looked at him like he was a pariah, and I was talking to the team saying, I don't know what this is, I don't know why, and they were trying to hear about it, and I was saying, well, he's fine. We go in, everything is wonderful. He likes to go look at the octopus, and then he has a tantrum afterwards. And is it the octopus that's, and he's not tantruming when we leave the octopus, but we walk 5 feet away and he snakes out. And they said, we have to come and look at it. And you know what it was? The floor tile changed in this, like 5 feet away from the octopus, and it went from a smooth surface to a grid. And they asked,
what was causing him.
Right, and they asked me, does he ever have a hard time? There was one place at Disneyland that's all, as you go to the parking lot, it's all a grid, and he would freak out. And we always thought he was mad about leaving Disneyland. But I now know from talking to him now, but he couldn't have told me then, he thought that the spaces were holes and that he was going to fall through.
Oh my gosh.
And once we figured that out and they worked with him on that visual thing, it fixed so many things.
Unbelievable.
But it's, you know, you don't know until you.
Yeah, the sensory issues with our kids are
Yeah.
tremendous. It's so important,
Yeah.
and we often forget to look at that. Like, that's a big deal. And you have to also realize, Shannon, like, this is why I'm always interested in like diets and
Yeah.
food, what food does to us.
Yeah.
Sometimes our kids, it's not even the antecedent, it's the consequence. Like, they specifically want a food that is going to make them feel out of it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, a lot of us are like that. So it's like the effect of these environmental factors is big time on behavior.
So make your little sheet.
Yes.
And track it for a week or two.
Then come back to us.
And come back to us. But also, if you have an opportunity, go to iBehavioral Training and take a look at. Everybody should know how to block, how to protect yourself, and how to protect your child. These are important things to know.
Absolutely right.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with more with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. Ask Dr. Doreen after these messages. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.